Happy Thursday, guys. I'm back for day two. I'm so proud of myself because I really wasn't sure how far I'd get. But, day two is here and we're still going. Okay, so I decided today we could chat about something I experience quite a bit with the clients that I work with and my students. Um, and that is really figuring out how to be yourself in your work or at business, whether you're going to a corporate 9 to 5 or you're, a full-time virtual assistant, whatever it is like, how do you be yourself in a way that you feel confident and good, that what your actions are reflecting your values and who you are, and not trying to be someone else. Because I often see people, especially in interviews, you present yourself in one way, right? Like, the answers to the questions, what you should say. Or there's the other side of it, especially, I see this a lot in with new VAs or people in corporate jobs. If you're working like an administrative job, or if it's a new professional role, is you start to question yourself and you don't question your authority. Like, you take what they say and you say, okay, I don't have a say. That's what we're going to do here. And eventually it's going to eat at you. And eventually you're going to be resentful of that job or of your own business. And hello, like, we don't want to be resentful of anything in our life, but especially if you're running your own business, you want to enjoy that. Like, we don't leave a 9 to 5 to hate what we do. Okay. And so, a few things that I have really worked on with myself is that when you believe that you have something valuable to contribute, you'll feel, more confident speaking and showing up authentically you. And that fear of judgment, I think that every single one of us deals with, will naturally kind of dampen, right? And so I really want you to take the time to, like, think about it. Like, are you being you in your work or your business? Like, are you showing up every day as you? So your name is Bob, right? Is Bob being Bob, or is Bob being Dave? Like, do you have this idea of who you should be? Or do you know who you are and you're confident and you love yourself and you're like, this is me? Given there, you do have to be careful on that one, because there's boundaries, and we need to be respectful and honor some of the structures in some of the corporate world, right? But the first thing, and I know there's been a lot of talk about, like, taking a seat at the table, especially for women. And I think this applies to men too. And there's many men who don't have the confidence anymore to believe that they do belong at that table. And so the first thing I want you to do is really convince yourself that you belong in the room. Okay. When you believe that you have something valuable to contribute, you're going to feel more confident speaking, like I said, and you're going to show up authentically you. And so taking the time to realize there's a reason you were hired, or there's a reason your clients buy your courses or hire you to take care of their VA work, right? You have value. And the people who hired you or are paying you, whatever it is, can see that. And they've hired, most likely they've hired a lot of people, so they know what they're doing. And it wasn't a mistake that they chose you. They chose you because you were the best person for that position at this time. Okay. And a lot of people question themselves. They're like, oh, like, I got hired for this job and I have no idea why I'm here. I didn't meet half the qualifications. But you're there. There's a reason that you have been hired. You have the unique knowledge and experience to make an impact in that business or in your own business with your own clients. So if you aren't convinced that you deserve to be in the room, how is anyone else going to be convinced of that? Okay. And so here is what I want you, this is my homework. We'll do some homework assignments today. Let's see. I wrote these down. I don't want to mess them up. So I don't want you just to have, like, a general mantra of I belong at the table. Okay. I want you to take time to create a really thoughtful list of why you belong, because you do belong at the table. We all belong at that table. Okay. No one deserves to be left out. No one deserves to be on the edge. Like, we all have something to contribute, but why do you belong? What's your knowledge? What's your value? What's your expertise? And I want you to write it out in a list, okay? And start paying attention to what makes you you. So, your background, your talent, your beliefs, your values, those are your strengths, and they're going to set you apart if you're willing to share them with others at the table. So if you're struggling with that list, I mean, it can be hard to, do because people are really hard on themselves. So what is the organization, whether it's someone else's business or if it's your business, what are they missing when you're not present? Okay. And then once you can figure that out, once you know what you offer, I'd recommend scheduling, informal coffee chats with like the influential people in a business. And oftentimes people think, oh, well, they're not going to meet with me, all da, 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 da. So an example I have is back when I worked at the University of Alaska, and I did kind of this exercise, and I kind of wanted to understand, the path I could take or what I should do next. Or like I had all these ideas, but I needed a mentor. And I reached out to a vice chancellor, which was really high up compared to where I was at that time. And most people would be like, the vice chancellor's not going to meet with you. But she did, right? We sat down for lunch. We had this whole discussion. It was amazing. And now she's in my network because of that. So don't underestimate yourself or think that people don't want to talk to you. Oftentimes they do. They want to connect with others just like you want to connect with others, okay? And take the time you need to find your voice and be vulnerable. And, being vulnerable is letting your guard down. And we've heard it a ton about it from Brené Brown, right? But you just let your guard down enough for others to feel human along with you, right? That's what we all want to do. We all want to feel human. We want to be real. And so like, think about like social media. Social media is not real. We're all posting, it's a highlight reel of life, right? Like, yes, those things are actually happening sometimes, but we don't see the other 95%. And so we all just crave being human, especially after COVID. We just want that. We want to relate to people. And it's really going to take time for you to figure out how to express your vulnerability at the right time and to the right people, because you can definitely mess it up. There's things you can say, you're like, oh, shouldn't have said that, right? But it's a learning experience, and people, they have more grace than you realize, especially when you apologize. If you own it, own your mistakes. That's one of the biggest things in business and in work is owning your mistakes. When you call yourself out and say, wow, I made a mistake, I am so sorry about that, they're so much less defensive. They're like, okay, I get it. Thank you for, letting me know. Let me know what you're going to do to like help solve whatever you just caused. But like, if you own what you've done, people will respond to that in a really good way. So I think what I'd like you guys to do is also choose someone, whether it's a biz bestie, it's a coworker. I don't know if I'd go supervisor quite yet, or client. Okay. So I want you to kind of choose someone who is on your playing level. And so not below, not above, right? And I want you to try to be intentional with ways that you can try to build a more meaningful relationship with them. Maybe it's just you have that coworker you chose, and each morning you're going to mention a quick snippet of something that happened last night in your personal life. And it's not that we need to spend a half an hour gossiping in the morning at work, but just like, hey, like, oh yeah, I took my dog to the dog park last night. It was really nice. Have you, do you have a dog? It's just those small things that you start connecting where eventually you can be more vulnerable, but you're going to like, you're dipping your toe in there to see kind of how it feels, how they respond, and you need to learn how to read the room and read people, because people, they tell you everything that you need to know pretty soon into a conversation, whether they want to be there and talk to you, whether they want to continue it, whether they're going to share, what they did last night. If they're just like, cool, yeah, I'll see you at the meeting. Okay. Like you do need to be able to take a hint and maybe pick a different coworker at that point, right? And then as you work through this, really think about the context, right? Like who, what, when, where, why of a situation. And it's okay to take time to think. And that's another thing I've noticed with really trying to be yourself in these situations, is that we feel pressured to immediately have an answer, immediately have, this great pitch or this great idea. And it's okay to slow down, allow yourself to think. And oftentimes some of the best meetings are when questions or problems are presented, and then they allow the team to go have some time to come up with ideas. to, you know, debrief with each other, and then they come back and discuss solutions as a team. But that's a whole nother discussion. Anyway, sorry, that was a big tangent. And so what I want you to also allow yourself to do is slow down and not have the answer. Start asking questions. You know, oftentimes people don't actually expect you to immediately have a question, and you don't have to be the most agreeable person at a meeting either. Okay, so I want you to, you know, you can kind of like have pre-written, pre-memorized questions when you're not ready to offer up your opinion. You know, it could be like, can you explain what you mean by X? Or when would this not work? Or why would this not work? You know, and start just getting that conversation going. So the pressure's not on you to be a certain way or to, you know, whoever you think you should be at that table. You're just engaging in a conversation. Oftentimes, when you start asking questions back instead of providing solutions, it's going to create a better opportunity to brainstorm as a team anyway. And sorry, I keep losing this video. Okay. And so I want you guys to really slow down and just think about who you are, what your values are, what you have to offer. Because as we build that confidence, we're going to be able to sit at the table and admit sometimes, like, I don't know. I can understand this problem. This is what I'm hearing from you. And I hear, you know, just kind of like reframe the problem back to them and say, I need some time to think about this. I need to do some research. I need to work through this a bit. And that's okay. So I want you guys to go back to that first initial homework assignment that I told you to do is, you know, create a really thoughtful list of why you belong where you are. And if you don't think you belong where you are, it's a good, you know, ding, you might not need to be there, right? You might need to be focusing on what's next. But most likely you do belong where you are because you have a unique knowledge, a unique capability that that organization or your organization needs. And so stop being down on yourself, really look into the positive side, and don't allow yourself to feel pressure to always have the answer, always know what to say, what's next, create pitches like that, okay? You know, sometimes amazing ideas come in the blink, but most likely, if it's a big problem, you need to slow down and really take time to think about it. So those are my thoughts today. And just, I want you to be you. Life is better when you are you. I love you and I want you to be you in my community. I never want you to try to be someone else because I don't want to be someone else. We've all been there. We've all done that. Let's be ourselves. Ourselves are so much better and we're awesome. So I love you all and I might talk to you tomorrow. So cheers. Let's see if I can get to stop filming.